Recently, health experts were demanding answers about the cause of Bob Saget's death after an autopsy report found his injuries to be more significant than initially believed. According to a doctor, Bob's head injury was so severe that it was like he had been hit with a baseball bat. The autopsy report revealed major trauma which could not be caused by a slip and fall. His cause of death was attributed to him falling backwards and striking the back of his head, according to an autopsy report released by the Orange County Medical Examiner, Dr. Joshua Stephanie. His death was ruled as an accident with no suspected foul play. Now, Bob's family have filed a lawsuit citing privacy concerns as they attempt to block the release of records that are related to the investigation into his passing. As I mentioned, the initial report from the Orange County Medical Examiner's office determined that Bob had most likely fallen backwards at some point, striking his head in the process. The lawsuit filed by Bob's widow and her 3 daughters was filed against Orange County's sheriff and the medical examiner. They requested that certain records be kept away from the public because of its graphic way of portraying the late actor. The lawsuit goes on to state, in the process of these investigations, defendants created records which include photographs, video recordings, audio recordings, statutorily protected autopsy information, and all other statutorily protected information. Upon information and belief, some of these records graphically depict Mr. Saget, his likeness or features or parts of him, and were made by defendants during defendants' investigations. Brian Bieber, who is the family attorney, told the press that this injunction was filed to prevent the release of photos or videos of Mr. Saget made by the authorities during their investigation. Their attorney goes on to say, the facts of the investigation should be made public, but these materials should remain private out of respect for the dignity of Mr. Saget and his family. It's very simple. From a human and legal standpoint, the Saget family's privacy rights outweigh any public interest in disclosure of this sensitive information. In addition to the medical examiner questioning the major trauma, they also stated in the autopsy report that he had tested positive for COVID-19. However, it was most definitely the head injury that took his life. The Orange County Sheriff's Office Department also responded to the lawsuit in a statement to CNN and said, while we are sensitive to the family's concerns about the right to privacy, that must be balanced with our commitment to transparency, compliance with the law, and the public's right to know. According to the chief medical examiner, he believes that the most probable scenario here was that Bob had suffered from an unwitnessed fall backwards and struck the posterior aspect of his head. And if anyone has ever had a concussion before, they always tell you to not fall asleep for a reason. My guess is that Bob decided to lay down, and this ended up being the reason why the manner of his death was ruled as an accident. Recently, comedian Heather McDonald even suffered a skull fracture after she collapsed on stage. While performing in the Tempe Improv, audience members say that the comedian collapsed after making a joke about being vaxxed, double vaxxed, and boosted, which unfortunately led many to believe that her falling down was just part of her act. In Heather's case, though, she was rushed right to the hospital. If Bob had suffered from a trip or a similar fainting spell, it's possible that he could have really done some damage. A lot of people will try to spin this story into a myriad of ways, from Bob being attacked to him being vaccinated as the reason for him passing out, but we just don't know right now. We'll have to leave it up to the authorities to continue with their investigation. But until then, I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this, because that's all the time we have for today. So stay classy, and I'll see you on the next one.